Hey, it's Sergio here with another story chat. This is where I talk story and I bring you into the fold, and we're going to talk about a bunch of topics. Today, there's a couple of things I want to mention, which is part of what we're doing with the Lightbox Expo. Hopefully, you guys know what I'm talking about when I say Lightbox, because we are one of the sponsors for that event. And Storyboard Art is going to be sponsoring a lot of talks. And one of the things I wanted to talk about today is a challenge event that we're going to be doing during the Lightbox Expo. Now, those of you who have been following us at Storyboard Art for a while might know a little bit of what we're doing here. We're doing an animatic challenge. This is something that we had done before a couple years ago, and we're bringing back the same script pages to do another challenge event where we're going to create an animatic together. And I wanted to talk a little bit today about why that's important, the process of doing animatics, and show you a little bit of my process. So I want to get into that as well. First off, big shout out to everybody who's going to join us here. Hey, JC, good to see you, buddy. And yeah, shameless plug in networking right here. That's what we want, is you guys to show up and talk about networking. This is a great way to get visual storytellers together and people interested in the art form and entertainment business. And yeah, by all means, let's connect. So you guys who are chatting here, who come up to the story chat, might as well put your website, put your connections, put your LinkedIn, whatever you got. At least we'll share it around. Taking questions today, and talking all about animatics and everything else that you want to hear about. And also, I'm sipping on a little bit of espresso. Nothing like a wonderful shot of coffee to give you a kick later on in the afternoon. So this is nice here. All right, well, let me first talk about why I think that animatics are really important, and this is one of the trends that I think is here to stay with storyboards in general. So before, it was just you create a still image and you had to make something that's really awesome with good composition. And then later on, when the tools got better, you would compile these things into a story reel. Now, they've been doing this for many, many decades, in fact. It was a lot more labor intensive before. Imagine, taking photographs of images and putting them together in a film animatic reel that they used to do in the Disney studios. Nowadays, you can draw them directly into your digital program and create an animatic right on the fly in a program like Toon Boom. That's truly amazing. It's a really great time saver, and it gets an instant feedback of what you want in the scene. You get like instant gratification about what you're creating with the images and seeing if the shots are working timed together. Because if you remember, when you put a sequence together, you want to juxtapose one shot with another. See how things are cutting. And then you can also work on the timing. That's really, really important. This is a lot of what TV animation has adopted with the Toon Boom tools. And also in an editorial pipeline, what you would do is you would export out now the first draft, so to speak, of your animatic. You give that to the editorial team, and then you can make further adjustments there. So when I was directing at Lucasfilm, what we would do is export our storyboard sequences. We'd go into the editorial room, and then we'd all sit down with the directors and the editors, and we start hashing this out. Then we put together that animatic reel. If there are any adjustments, we send it back to the storyboard artist, and they do their adjustments, and you do a couple rounds of that. But the end product really is you're creating a story reel, and that is a very, very clear and strong blueprint for everybody else to follow in the production. That's why animatics are really so important. Now, there's many names for this. I call it animatic. Some people might call it a story reel. It really doesn't matter what you call it. It's just a timed out pass of your storyboards that you compile together and you put it into a movie file. Sometimes you'll even do temp audio and temp dialogue to add to your movie file, and it looks really cool. So that's one of the things I just wanted to talk about, and let me just open this up with giving you guys, showing you really what I mean and my process. Now, I will mention that you can see this up on screen, is that we're going to have this animatic storyboard challenge. You guys are going to be able to participate in creating an animatic along with me and the rest of the crew, the rest of the Lightbox Expo crew, the storyboard art community. And we're going to do this together for 2 weeks, starting with Lightbox. So that all happens. The registration will open on August 30th. And all of this is free, by the way. This is just to get an exciting event together where we get storytellers. We're gonna do a lot of networking. We're gonna create some awesome artwork, and we're all gonna come together to produce something really cool. I'm gonna be giving personal feedback on the submissions that are coming in. And we're all going to do that on our Discord channel. And we're going to be posting stuff on social media. It's going to be a lot of fun. Now, more details will come soon. Now, that's going to be coming on August 30th. So look out for the registration links and sign up to our email list, and you're going to get those invites there pretty soon. All of that is coming shortly. So I don't want to reveal too much yet, because we want to build up the anticipation to that, and we're still working on the details in the background, so that's coming soon. All right, so with that, let me share my screen here, and I want to show you this script page that's going to be part of that challenge. And again, you guys might recognize this if you're part of the storyboard art community. This is from a script from a film called Shotgun Jimmy. Now, this is taken on a life of its own, and the film now has transformed into a different name. It's no longer called Shotgun Jimmy, and this is by a wonderful artist and filmmaker, Boston McConaughey, who has lent us the use of the script. Now, I worked on this film, and we were doing a lot of story development, and I took this first introductory sequence, and we're going to be doing the first 2 script pages. And so I just wanted to show you kind of what my scripts look like when I get into it. Like, you can see all of the just the notes that I take. Let me see if I can zoom into this a little bit. And you see that I'm scribbling on this, I'm circling things, I'm making little thumbnails on the side. Now, this is just for me. I don't necessarily show this to the directors or anybody else involved, right? This is mainly kind of for me to, as I'm thinking about working the script, as I'm reading through this, I'll jot little notes. And like, for example, I'll underline this: a small duffel seemingly full of cash, right? And that's one sentence that I called out and how to make that visual. And I put a little, duffel bag, and maybe there's like dollar bills flying away. That's what that means. Those are little shorthand notes that I do for myself, okay? Now, I'm gonna go through this all step by step. That's gonna be part of the challenge, but I just kind of wanted to show you that's where we start, okay? That's the first part. Let me go to the next thing is I wanna show you this. This is Photoshop. And I use many different programs to draw. I use Toon Boom, I use Photoshop, I use Sketchbook Pro. Well, now it's called Sketchbook from Autodesk. I also use TV Paint. And these are all a different variety of programs. Each one has their advantages and disadvantages. And it really doesn't matter what you use. We're gonna use all of that in the challenge. And I just wanted to show you what one of my storyboard panels actually looks like. So this is an export. And let me see if I can zoom in. I'll make this full screen. How's that? Let's see here. Fit on screen. Well, I'll make that there, and I think we'll do this a little bit bigger. There it is. So anyway, you can kind of see that there's a mask around this. And actually, I really want you to see the layers, though. So I have a mask layer, and this is basically what I submit to the director for them to look at with the mask on, so that all they see is the actual storyboard image. And I'll crop out that mask. This is just for me to work. But my canvas that I actually work on is a little bit bigger, so that I can draw outside the lines here. And let me bring this a little bit closer. And then going down the line on my layers here, it's a little bit small, but you'll notice on the side here, I'll just read this off. It's a 16:9 frame. That's my aspect ratio. I have that on a different layer, so I can move, I can draw underneath that on different layers, and that's how I manipulate the image. Let me turn off some of this other stuff, and I'll actually create a new layer here just to show you guys what it looks like when I just have black and white. So I do a black and white line work pass, and this isn't my first pass. This is actually after even a cleanup pass. It doesn't look that clean, but it is still a little sketchy, but I've somewhat added a couple of tones, and it looks somewhat readable. The silhouette is there, and that's my black and white line work pass, okay? I usually throw on a gray background just as a simple shorthand for me to use, because when I go to color and kind of add some tones, I use that gray background as a starting point, okay? So that's the bike. That's basically on one layer. I'll do a background layer with tones. That's what this is. And I usually name it. This is actually scene 2. This is a shot 2 in that particular sequence, okay? And then there's a background layer that, let me turn off the bike and the color. And you can see it's a very simple background. I'll turn on the frame again so you see where that is. So it's just a slight indication of where the horizon line is. And it's also a slight indication of a blur and a couple of motion lines that you can see here in the foreground. And then putting that all together, this is the complete storyboard panel. And that's it. It's very simple. It takes me, a relatively quick execution to produce. And this is the style of storyboards that I do, and I'm going to be doing in that challenge, just to show you, because there's hundreds. I produce hundreds of images like this to create the animatic. So let me show you that as well. Let me go into more of the boards, and these are the actual finished boards that that I can just scrub through. Now you notice this is one of the panels that I was showing you. Make that a little bit larger. So that's what I just showed you in Photoshop. And let me make this a little bit smaller. Okay, and then these are the actual storyboard panels that I'm going to be showing you in the animatic and in that challenge. So this is all based on that script, and there's a couple of shots that I'm going to be showing you how to do After Effects work on, and really get into the details of this, and what to do to produce this stuff. So when you kind of click on this pretty quickly, you can see that it looks like it's moving. There's a little bit of motion there. Okay. Let me go to this shot, and I'll show you. Sometimes I do a layout method, and I call this a layout method because it's kind of from the traditional 2D layout that I was trained on, and basically you create a very long pan. Now you don't really see that because once you add the camera guide, which is on one of these layers, you see this series of squares. Those are the 16:9 aspect ratio camera guides that I use on this background. And the only thing you see is what's inside of that square, inside of that rectangle, okay? And then I have a foreground layer. I have multiple character layers, essentially with a chase going on. And there's one background layer that I have, trees and very sketched in brushes and, bushes, brushes, everything, everything there for that particular shot. And this is one special shot that I did to simulate a camera move. Now I did this in After Effects. You can do this in Toon Boom. You can even do this in Photoshop and have that kind of effect there. So those are all things that we're going to be covering. And I just wanted to kind of show you that process. I'm going to get way in depth with this, and I'm actually going to show you how I draw. And that whole process from a series of video demos that I'm going to be doing there will happen during that challenge event. So that's going to be a lot of fun. That's all happening in Lightbox Expo. And the Lightbox Expo actually starts September 7th all the way to September 12th. So it's going to go that whole week. And it's a wonderful event. It's a very low cost and a very accessible event. And the stuff that we're doing for storyboard art is all free. That's all stuff that you can participate in free of charge. You just got to go to our website. It'll send you to our event page. And but I really do encourage you to go to Lightbox and check out all the other artists. There's tons of talks. It's just a concentrated effort of the artist community, and sponsored by the Lightbox crew. And Bobby Chu and Jim Demonakos, who are wonderful organizers, have put this together. And it's a really great event that we can all come together and learn and participate and share and network. There's a lot of good companies that you can go and check out. That the recruiters will be there, and this is all related to the entertainment industry that we want to get into. And of course, Storyboard Art will be there with a lot of events and talks. And just to tell you real quick, I'm gonna pull up my cheat sheet and see who we have lined up, because the talks that we're doing there are just going to be amazing. I think we had a really good turnout last year, but this year it's going to be even better. Like, we have an even bigger lineup of people, roundtable talks, and just heavyweights in the industry that I think all of you guys should be paying attention to and listening to, getting some information from. So a couple of those will be, I'm really looking forward to this talk from Abram Cox. Abram Cox is a showrunner who used to be a storyboard artist and now is a director and showrunner, producing and directing his own television show on Netflix. So that's going to be a really amazing talk. And so that one is happening on Thursday, September 9th. I encourage you guys to check that out. And all this will be on our website, so you don't have to remember these things. We'll have this on our website so you can click and see the schedule of events. But Robert Valley, who's a wonderful and amazing artist, storyboard artist and director, and incredible designer, award-winning artist, will be with us. And I hear he has told us that he's going to be talking about the new project that he's going to be involved in. So that's something that's going to be really exciting. He's going to be joined by his buddy and ours, Derek Thompson, who's a a senior storyboard artist and also director in his own right at Pixar. So Derek is a huge heavyweight story artist. He did a talk for us last year for a benefit auction event that we did, and it was just mind-blowing. It was, the information there was just like amazing. Derek is fantastic teacher and an incredible artist. So him and Robert together is just going to be a lot of fun. We're also having a roundtable discussion with a bunch of pros, and these are guys from Warner Brothers, DreamWorks, Lucasfilm, Disney. I mean, the list goes on, and so that's going to be really great. Encourage you to join that for sure. All right, I also want to take some questions. Let me go in and see what people are talking about here in the discussion, because it's also important to share some ideas and just be part of this community, because that's how we learn. We learn from each other. So that's really great. Let me pull this up from JC. Jean-Claude was on our live streams here about a week and a half ago, or is it 2 weeks now? So he's been saying, I started with Clip Studio Paint. I know that program for doing animatics, and so far it's working well. There's a learning curve like any other software, but once you get the hang of it, you just do your thing. All right, I love it. That's a great tip. I have not used that program, so for those of you who have, maybe you can give us some tips. JC seems to like it, so fantastic. Yeah, so this Shadowjax here is mentioning something about Premiere and the animatics. Yeah, so answering your question, JSEO0348, any editing tool will do, but I use Premiere Pro. You could do it in Storyboard Pro, Procreate, etc. Anything that lets you do a timeline. Yeah, absolutely. That's what I do my animatics. I'm a fan of Premiere because it is a non-linear editing program, and you can do a lot of pro level dissolves and effects. You can bring in various things from different programs. So it's a step up from the editing timeline you get in Toon Boom. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll set up my animatic in Toon Boom, and then I'll export that and bring that into Premiere as the movie files. And then I'll edit that further. At that point, it's like an editorial pass. And I do like to work on my own animatics when I'm working with a team. Usually there's another editor there, which is a wonderful help, because editors are great storytellers in and of themselves. They're ones that can help solve problems for you, and I lean a lot on the editors to create the animatic reel as well. Their input is so valuable. All right, this is a good question here. Do you guys recommend any free software with a basic storyboard animatic set of tools? This might have been answered already in the chat, but yeah, JC here is saying that Unreal Engine is one. There's also a program called Storyboarder that is a really great program. It's free as well. Also, I would recommend Sketchbook, Autodesk Sketchbook. I will be using that in the challenge. You'll see me use that. It has a timeline feature. It's a little bit limited, but it's free, and it does a really good job of drawing. The drawing tools are really good. Another thumbs up here for Blender. Guimat Arts here is saying, I love Blender, but I always mess up because of his general shortcuts and tools of the 3D workspace. Blender does have a learning curve to it. A lot of people are fans of Blender, and I know guys who are doing really high-level pro work using Blender. So that's a really good program there too. Here's another vote for Storyboarder. Yeah, and if you guys have any links for that, that would be great. I remember the link. I just don't have the website. I think it's, I think if you just do a search in Google for Storyboarder software, you might find it. The other thing to know is that a lot of these programs offer a trial, and a free trial at least, or a student discount. So if you were learning on a platform like ours in Storyboard Art, that qualifies. I know Adobe has recognized that in the past, and I think Toon Boom as well. So you can get an educational license for a reduced rate, and that's great. I think I don't remember what the monthly fee is for some of these programs, but it's a really good option if you want to work and do pro level work, and just pay a little bit. The other thing with these new subscription programs, even with the Adobe CC software, which is subscription based to get the latest versions of it, you can cancel at any time, and I've done that before too. Like if I'm not using a program, I'll just cut my subscription, and I know in a couple months when I'll bring it back up, well then I'll just sign up again, and usually there's no problems or no issues with that. So I use these things on a regular basis, so I do have multiple subscriptions for these programs, right? Oh, hey, we got a link here. Thanks, buddy. This is awesome. Chad Pickrell, who's helping us with the mentorship and also a great artist in and of himself, is giving us this link for Wonder Unit. Yeah, so that's the company that makes Storyboarder. Thanks, buddy. That's awesome. Pardon me as I finish up my coffee. Now, I will mention that there are many ways to solve the same story problem. You can do it with flat images. You can do it with beat boards, which are essentially storytelling images, but it's not filling in all the continuity gaps, not putting in all the poses. Like you saw me flip through that sequence, and there's multiple poses for a particular shot. So there's many ways to solve the problem. It all really depends on what your end goal is. Usually when I'm doing an animatic, I really like to put in a lot of poses and a lot of storyboard panels. That way the timing I can work out really, really well. And I'll explain all of this, but for a lot of people, they find that a little bit confusing. They'll put arrows and they put a lot of big jumps from one shot to the next, and they'll put that in an animatic. And so I'll call that out to a lot of people and I'll say, well, actually in an animatic, you want to fill in those gaps. You actually want to show the timing. It's not really enough anymore to have a character and then show a bunch of arrows of what the action will be. And really it's up to the viewer's imagination to fill in what's going on. That's the whole point of making an animatic, is you do those poses, you actually draw those out, get rid of the arrows, you remove those from the storyboard panel, and you show the different camera positions. If there's a camera move, you show the different character poses, if the character's acting or moving throughout the shot. And that's how you would get through an animatic. And the reason why is because of the timing. You can work your timing much easier and much better that way. Okay. Now, there are other cases where, those arrows and those camera indications are valid. So I'm not saying that anything is, there's no wrong way of doing it. Okay. There's just multiple ways of solving the same problem. And in particular, I'm showing people this continuity method of doing an animatic, which a lot of the major studios are using and TV animation is using in a big way. In fact, you'll see a lot of these things that are posted that look almost like rough animations. They're so posed out and they have tons of storyboard panels in them and they look really exciting. It's really fun to watch because they're really dynamic and there's a lot of poses there. In fact, I always say that former 2D animators make really good story artists once they learn the film language and they can get good camera work going and their staging is strong because they know about those character poses and they're really good artists. Like they have the drawing skills to be able to back up what they're doing, okay? So those are all really good things to think about. This is a good comment from JC again. I guess in a scene where you have a character walking and running, you have to know how to do a basic run and walk cycle. So this is kind of related to the question of like how many poses do you do, what you should be doing in there. And yeah, you're right. I always recommend that you do have some kind of knowledge about 2D animation or just animation in general, because that whole concept of squash and stretch, doing cycles, run cycles, walk cycles, etc., that you'll know the poses that you need to be doing. Like for a run cycle, you got to be doing, right leg pose and a left leg pose, and then the pass through pose, which is kind of an intermediate pose. You need at least 3. Okay, that's the basic thing you need for a run cycle. And usually you want to add at least 2 more. So a basic run cycle has to have 5 poses in there, and then you can throw the time in there all you want. It's going to look a lot easier. Sometimes people try and get away with 2 poses with one arm here, like, they do it this way, and then the next arm like running that way. And then if you do that, it just looks very choppy. Now you can get through with that. You can get by with it, but usually that's where your knowledge of animation and 2D animation skills come in. This is another cool comment here. Yeah, check out the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles animatics that have been posted from, I think it's from Nickelodeon. You guys correct me if I'm wrong, on the studios at Cartoon Network. But I've seen some amazing animatics that have been posted. I think it's just from the artist, the storyboard artists that are working on those shows, posting those things. And you can find those on social media. And yeah, they're great. And we're going to have a couple of those guys who can do that on a lot of our live stream talks for Lightbox Expo. So you guys should join up with that. All right. Thanks for the agreement here. Knowledge. That's what it's all about. So Alan here is saying 2D animation fundamentals are invaluable for boards, but it's important not to fall into the trap of animating when you're supposed to be boarding. This is such a wonderful comment. Thanks for that, Alan. I love this. Yes, absolutely. I would say 100% you are right. I agree. There is a fine line between like doing rough animation in your animatic and actually doing story work for your boards. Okay. So that's, I'll just leave that up there for people to read, but this is a really great point that you don't want to overdo it because one, I just think it's overkill. I have this conversation a lot with studios and directors because yes, I think most people really relate. Like they get excited when they see a fully like roughly animated story reel and they're like, wow, this is so awesome. It's so really well rendered and well executed. And it's closer to the finished product. That's true. But I really emphasize that the important thing to do when you're doing story work is to remember and solve the story problems. So if you haven't done that, there is no amount of polish that I think will fix any of the story problems. If the story isn't strong, there's just no amount of acting poses or storyboard poses to make it animated or make the thing look, active, that's really gonna solve your story issues. So solve those story problems first, and then you can start putting in the bells and whistles and creating the fleshing out the animatic. And that's something that I show you guys, I will show you in that animatic challenge, is really my process of doing a rough pass first. I really double check my work and see how I'm doing. I check it with the script. At that point, you want to submit that to your director, get some feedback, right? And once you get some notes, you go and you correct the notes on the story part. And that's at the rough phase. You actually haven't done that much work yet. And then when you finally get buy-off on, the director, everybody else in the crew, the writers, the producers, whoever else it is that you're working with, then you're going to go in and you're going to tighten that up, and you're going to tighten up your storyboards. But it's only just a small upgrade in the amount of polish and finish. Of course, every project is different, but that level of finish that I do, and I'm going to show you, is a good balance between speed and clarity, right? Really what you want is clarity. That's the most important thing in your storyboard panel. At least that's what I like to focus on. And then after that, it's really just making sure that you have a really good basis to make your animatic and timing, okay? So cool. Those are all really good points. I'm glad there's some good discussion going on here. Let me bring up this question from Steven. Hey, buddy. Hey, Sergio, I just finished this visual storytelling course. It was great and covered a lot of ground, but I didn't quite finish the Nick Sung video. Now it's been taken down. Is it posted anywhere? Well, if you are a member of the visual story course, yes, you can see the Nick Sung video and all that stuff. In fact, what I would recommend for you, Steve, one, thanks for participating in that visual story course. We're going to bring that back too. What you're talking about, for those who don't know, this is it was kind of a really cool way to get into visual storytelling and also to do some exercises for your portfolio. What I recommend is you sign up to this Animatic Challenge. It's going to be something very similar to what we had in the visual story course, and doing another set of exercises. And there's a bunch of story bonus videos there. Nick Sung is part of that too. So for those of you guys who don't know who Nick is a Pixar artist, and he's worked on a ton of films, some of the best movies that came out of Pixar: Ratatouille, Cars, let me think, I'm losing my train of thought here. He did Cars, Ratatouille. He worked on Coco. Anyway, the list goes on. And Cars 2, I think, as well. Just an amazing artist. And he has been part of the Story Artist Mentorship for the past year that myself and Chad have been helping out with. And it's just great having another professional artist give feedback on this. And that's all of what's going to be happening during this Animatic Challenge. So yeah, and if you have any doubts about that, you can always hit us up. We're happy to help. Just contact us directly. All right. I love this. This is great, buddy. Thanks for this. JC knows what he's talking about. He's a super pro. Clarity trumps everything else. Absolutely. I really do believe that. I'm with you on this one. So yeah, just make your storyboards really clear. Oh, hey, this is an interesting comment. I'll bring this up on screen. Harry here is asking, will you be doing an update on your book? Now, a lot of you have messaged me and contacted us at Storyboard Art for my book, which is Professional Storyboarding Rules of Thumb, with my co-author Anson Ju. And it was a really difficult undertaking when we actually made this book a number of years back. And yes, I thought a lot about updating this book because we just scratched the surface on what we could cover with storytelling. And I think we did a good job of giving people a primer of what it takes to get into the business. We have a lot of interviews with professional artists that are super talented and working on huge movies. It's really great that they were able to offer their expertise in that book. I have it somewhere on my bookshelf. I'll bring that up next time in another one of these story chats. But yes, well, that's coming soon. I had thought a lot about that. Maybe one of the things, if you guys have any suggestions that you want to see, we're compiling a lot of that material, and we're going to hopefully be bringing that soon. So if we do a new edition, we will let you know for sure. Well, guys, really appreciate you joining me on this chat. We're going to be doing this all the way up until Lightbox Expo every Wednesday. And once that Lightbox Expo week hits, we're going to be ramping up with all these live streams, and we'll let you know what's going on there. So check out what's happening at storyboardart.org. Check out what's happening at Lightbox Expo. I think the website is lightboxexpo.com. Pretty easy to remember. And yeah, by the way, keep on your drawings, keep on working hard. Anything that is difficult to achieve, it just feels so good when you work really hard on something and you see the results. And this is what I encourage people to do, is that you keep at it, you keep working hard on your drawings. And it might be difficult to see the improvement, but over the course of a year, maybe over the course of 2 years, the growth that you can do if you stay consistent with things is just amazing. It really is. I've seen this in my personal work. I've seen this in many other artists that I've trained personally, which is a wonderful thing to see. It's like over many years, how they blossom into just seasoned veterans. And over the course of many years, even a decade, for example, I keep in touch with a lot of people, and then you see, wow, they've become these amazing story veterans that are their skills have just expanded to where they're complete professionals and they can handle the scene all on their own, come up with amazing ideas. And that's just really awesome. And it is possible to do. If you stick with it and stay consistent, you can do that. That's something you can achieve. All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining me, and we'll see you really soon. So keep in touch and check out what's going on with all the activities with Lightbox Expo. All right, my friends. Talk to you soon. See ya.